Greetings, everyone. This is Trey Jadlow. I'm here on this 5th day of May, 2018, with my new friend David here, whom I haven't even introduced myself. We just came on and jumped on, but I like to keep these hangouts kind of spontaneous if we can. And I noticed when I sent you the link on Facebook that we had last year did we schedule one of these before or something like that? David? Can you hear me?
Well, no, we talked about morality and utilitarianism. I tried to defend the view that you can have objective ethics without God, at least. I would want to qualify that a little bit, but do you not remember the talk we had? I mean, I guess you do these all the time, so.
That's hilarious. No, I have no recollection. You don't even look familiar to me. I apologize.
My hair was a bit shorter. Maybe I'll just do it like this and see if that helps.
I'll have to go back and see if I can find a video. I know when I titled this, I did hang out with another David that I didn't remember. So that was probably you, I guess. Boy, that's really weird.
Yeah, well, you can, maybe after we talk for a while, I'll say something similar and you'll be like, oh yes, that guy. But yeah, okay. No, we did it. Yeah, it was, I guess, about a year ago. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, I'm complete. I had to turn down my resolution because it seemed like it was cutting out sometimes. I don't know if that's my internet or whatever, and so it might be a little fuzzy. So I apologize for that. Okay. So can you tell me? Would you mind? I'm sure I asked you before, but refresh me. Tell me a little bit about yourself, both vocationally, or your student, or your work, you got a family, and then also your spiritual perspective, just your background, where you come from and stuff.
Sure, no problem. So vocationally, I just finished a bachelor's degree in psychology, an honors degree. I worked as a peer tutor there. My last semester had 5 courses and tutoring. One of the courses was the honors project. So right now I'm doing nothing on purpose because I just felt I needed a break. Mm-hmm. Are you still there?
Yeah, I am. Sorry, I hit something wrong.
Oh, that's no problem. So my goal is to get a PhD in philosophy. So in the fall, I'll be taking some additional upper level classes in philosophy, hopefully starting a master's after that, and then eventually a PhD. As far as my spiritual beliefs, so I started out as an evangelical Christian, was raised religious, was very active in the church. I spoke at young adults groups, led Bible studies, studied apologetics extensively, read the whole Bible, had a lot of deep emotional experiences as well. It was, in fact, many of my fondest memories are in church or in worship. Mm-hmm. But eventually I came to see flaws in various apologetic arguments that I had used. And I had used arguments both from a presuppositional and an evidentialist perspective, often tried to integrate them. But eventually I came to no longer be persuaded by them and came to be a naturalist and an atheist, which I guess over the last few years, I have come to get in better touch with my Christian roots. I have come to rediscover that I have a great deal of affection for the Christian tradition, for the rituals, the music, and many of the social and ethical teachings of Jesus. I've come to rediscover many, for lack of a better term, more leftist elements in Jesus. Now, I'm not a socialist or anything quite that extreme, but I think that there's the emphasis on the poor, the emphasis on the kingdom of God being something that's supposed to be here, right? Your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. And so I've discovered in Jesus something much more subversive, I think, than many conservatives tend to see. And so I am still very fascinated by Jesus, and he's really my hero in many ways. So I sometimes call myself a Christian atheist, just because I still will go to church occasionally, I sing the songs, do the rituals, and it's really in my bones. It's very much a part of who I am. But I don't have any supernatural beliefs. I don't believe in gods, demons, an afterlife, or miracles. Hey, you're still there? And
yes, I am. I apologize. I clicked on something my Kaspersky said. I was trying to click it off. The little notification said, turn off the camera.
Okay, weird.
Now I don't know how to turn it back on, unfortunately.
Okay, but I can still hear you. So as long as the video is good, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
Any questions? Does that make sense? Or
yeah, it does. It's very helpful. Thank you. So from could you repeat again exactly what we talked about last time we did this again?
Yeah, sure. So we talked about a few different things. I think it started off with me trying to defend a version of moral realism. So I tried to defend the view that one can speak of moral truth, at least in a certain sense, without appealing to God. That one can be a naturalist and believe that some actions are better than others, some policies are better than others, some character traits are better, and things of that sort. And you had various skeptical questions for that view, and we went back and forth about that. I think you presented some version of the cosmological argument. You might not have used that term, but essentially that you can't explain the existence of a contingent universe without appealing to some sort of first cause. You may not have used that exact terminology, but something to that effect. In any case,
okay, yeah, just the usual stuff for me then.
So,
all right. So, what? Maybe you can help me then. How do you justify your existence then?
Well, I mean, so this is a whole. The short answer is I don't know, and I don't think anyone else knows either.
Okay, but do you care?
Oh, I do care. I think it's an interesting philosophical question. It's not. There are definitely things I care about more, but I think that I see no problem. This might remind you of me if I talk about this. I see no problem in saying that the universe, or maybe there are other universes. Who knows? Some physicists think that, but I have no idea. I see no problem in saying the natural world exists necessarily. That the whole of reality does not have a cause. It just exists in virtue of its own nature. So it's typically, if you ask a Christian, why does God exist? The Christian will say God exists necessarily. He can't not exist. He exists in virtue of his own nature. And I don't see a problem with saying that about the universe. Now, some people say, but the Big Bang, the universe had a beginning. Yes, but on certain views of time, that's actually not a problem. If all points in time are equally real, so if I have my iPhone here, it has a beginning, sort of. It has a the beginning point here and an end point here, but all points in the iPhone are equally real. And so many philosophers think a timeline is like that all moments in time are equally real, and that the passage of time that we feel is just an illusion of human consciousness. Now, I'm not saying I know that that's true, but I don't see any problem with saying, maybe the universe or the whole of the natural world exists in a similar kind of way that Christians say God exists. It just exists necessarily.
Okay, but that which is self-existent is not subject to change. Do you realize that? Yeah,
exactly. So on this view, there wouldn't be change for the whole. So the whole of the natural world, the past exists, the future exists, the present exists. They're all equally real. So the whole of the natural world doesn't change. We just experience change as a kind of illusion that our brain is pulling on us.
So change is not real.
Change is not on this view. Change is not ultimately real. It's sort of like, I don't know, colors. Colors aren't really real. They're kind of an illusion that our brain pulls on us, and it's very hard to really let that sink in. But this cup isn't really red, right? Colors don't exist in the world. There's something our brain kind of imposes on sense data.
Okay, but there is actually our brain does synthesize the reflection of the light off the cup, so the color is secondary to the cup, but the color itself really objectively has ontological a nature to it, and it is testable, it is repeatable. It's not an illusion. Okay, now you're conflating something. You're saying that something, since it's a secondary, it's secondary in nature, therefore it doesn't exist. That's not what I'm saying at all. That's not a good analogy.
We might just be differing over the terms we're using. I'm not sure if we actually disagree. So if all humans died tomorrow, and there's kind of an ideal observer, you know, like a god, you know, who's looking down, the cup is not actually red. You know, that's a sensory property that I have when I.
But the cup has the nature that when the light is reflected from that, it emits a certain wavelength that of light that makes it appear red. So yes, it's not exactly in the cup, but there is light waves that hit it and reflect off of it and come back to our eye, and our cones or rods, I can't remember which is which, you know, interpret that. So there is an actual ontological reality to color. Now, again, it's secondary. That's completely different than saying that if you want to say change is an illusion, then you need to live consistently for that. And next time you see a speeding truck, I want you to walk in front of that. Would you be willing to do that?
Okay, so we'll get to the speeding truck in a minute. But as far as your story about the cup, I'd want to add one thing. So I agree that the cup has a certain nature such that when certain wavelengths of light reflect off and certain wavelengths are absorbed, and they hit my rods and cones, and they are such that my brain will you know, process it and interpret it as red. The cones don't interpret it. It goes to my brain, you know, so the cup has a nature such that when light reflects off it and is processed by a normal human brain, it will perceive it as red. I don't think you'll have any real objection there. Now, as far as so now, to me, that sounds like color is an illusion. Now, if you want to say, no, it's not an illusion, it's real, it's just not quite what you think it is, that's fine. So fine, color is real. It's a real, you know.
Are the wave particles that create that reality real?
Yeah. The wave particles are real, and I mean, you could say that the sense experience in my head is real too. It's just not, you know, the same kind of thing as, you know, a wave particle. That's fine. And so maybe change is real too, in the sense that it's a real part of the way I experience the world.
Okay, well, it can't be real and not real at the same time in the same relationship. If you want to say on a small scale it's real, a big scale it's not, you're violating the law of identity and the law of non-contradiction.
It can't be real and not real in the same sense in the same relationship. So it's not real as far as, you know, the ultimate nature of the universe.
Okay, so the universe as a whole, as it is self-existent. That's what you're saying, right?
It's what I'm saying. And I don't want to keep saying this over and over again, but I'll just say this now, and then for the duration of our discussion of self-existence, I'm playing devil's advocate for someone who thinks that the B theory of time is true, or that, you know, time doesn't move linearly. I'm not even sure if I believe that. The truth is I don't know, but I'm going to kind of defend the view that, okay, if time is the way that some physicists think it is, then this is what I would say. But so if I were to defend that view, time is not real. If you look at the universe as a whole, the whole of the natural world, there's no change. All moments in time exist, so nothing changes. But time is real as a part of the way I, as a human, experience the world. It's part of the way my brain, functions.
Is it true that you are changing? That you were born?
Yeah, I mean, it's true as as a part of my own narrative.
Okay, so essentially what you're saying is you're saying the constituent parts that make up the universe are all contingent, but together they become self-existent. Is that what you're saying?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think the contingency or change only enters in as a part of human experience on this view. And I'll just add one thing.
Are those real experiences, though?
Sure. I mean, they're real. I'll add something that might help, and this might seem like a total diversion, but it's a helpful term in contemporary philosophy. There's a distinction between two ways of describing the world, and many philosophers will say both ways of describing the world are real in an important sense, but they're different. They're different language games for describing the world. One is what's called the scientific image. So the scientific image describes the world in terms of atoms and particles and neurons and equations that physicists write on the board, and that's in some sense, the more ultimate description of the world. It's the more final description of the world. And that view of the world very well may have no place for time. Time as a progression of change. There might not be any time in the real scientific image of the world. But then there's also another way of looking at the world, which is the manifest image. And the manifest image is the way things appear to us, right? The way things appear in consciousness. So the scientific image has things like atoms and protons and neutrons and equations, whereas the manifest image has colors and change and opportunities and free will and all of these kind of more human level entities. But they're not, this sounds kind of strange, but the manifest image is in some sense not as real as the scientific image, but we can't help but talk about color, and all these other things. The person who came up with this said that the job of philosophy is to try to reconcile the manifest image and the scientific image. So change is real from the standpoint of the manifest image. It's real as a part of our kind of everyday experience, but it might not be jargon. It might not be ontologically ultimate. It might not be a part of the ultimate nature of reality, if that makes sense. Okay. I rambled a bit there, but
I'm not understanding how you can say both the universe is both changing and not changing. And you're saying from a different relationship. What's this other relationship that perceives it as being as not changing? I'm not sure if that's the best way to do it. I feel like you might be trying to absorb my distinction into, I'm just trying to make sense of it. It doesn't make any sense.
All right. So there's two different ways of looking at the world on this view, right? There's the scientific image and the manifest image. So maybe try to feed back what I'm saying. So the scientific image has things like protons, neutrons, equations, laws of physics, and the manifest image is our human experience of the world that's somehow produced by our brains. Now, how the brain does that is a whole huge mystery that we don't have to get into. And I'm happy to say I think it's the biggest problem for naturalism, or maybe for any worldview. But so I'm not saying that I guess what I'm saying, I don't see a contradiction between affirming that there is a manifest image, there is the way things appear to us, and there's the scientific image, the protons, neutrons, and the more literal description of the world in terms of scientific things.
Are both of them you're describing as we experience them from our perception? Would that be correct? Both the manifest.
No. So the manifest image is perception. Now the scientific image we learn about it through perception, but it's not describing how our perception works. I mean, no one's ever seen an electron, right? Like these are theoretical entities that we postulate because they make really good sense of our perception.
But and we're using our perception to use that extrapolation, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, well, that's all we have.
Right.
So we're using perception. I mean, combined with mathematics.
Okay. So what perception are you using to say that all of reality is self-existent, even though it changes?
So I'm not defending the thesis that the universe is self-existent. That I know this to be true, but I don't see any defeater for it. I don't think there's any problem.
I just gave you one, and then you said that you gave it up right there, and then you took it back again, which is
no. There's no defeater. So you seem to be saying there's a contradiction between affirming that the world around us changes as a part of our perceptual experience, which I think is true. I think the world does change as a matter of our perceptual experience, but it doesn't change in terms of the ultimate nature of reality. I
want you to demonstrate that now.
Demonstrate that the world does not change?
Yeah.
So the reason for suspecting that the universe does not change is that it seems to be the most natural reading of the theory of relativity. I mean, so on the interpretation that certainly Einstein had and most theoretical physicists have today, there is no real distinction between the past and the future. Well, there are differences, but they're both equally real. It's not like the world moves through from the past to the present. There just are both of these entities. Now, I'm not qualified to spell out the equations and have them all memorized and say why they lead to this. And I'm not necessarily defending that this view is true, that there is no change. But
David, this is what this whole conversation is about. You keep affirming it and trying to defend it, and then you say, "Well, I'm not really trying to do it." Which is it? Make a choice.
I actually said quite early on, and I'll say it again. I'm not saying I know this view is true.
Okay, then why don't you accept my view, which I do know is true?
No, so see that's different. I'm saying I know of no counter argument against this view. Your view is based on, so you think that God is the cause of the universe. The argument you will give for that will require that you say there is no other possible explanation for the existence of the universe. That's so right. The burden is actually on you to show why my view is false, or why this view has to be false.
My argument is change. Right. You are changing. And so you're saying, well, who knows? Again, you're violating parsimony as well. Who knows? It could be that it changes and it doesn't change us, and then I can get out. That's like saying, I've got green Martians under my desk, but you can't see them. But I promise you, they're there.
So as far as parsimony, the one argument I think I can give for my view is that it is more parsimonious, because on my view, you have the natural world and that's it.
No, it's not. The natural world is contingent.
No. On this view, the natural world is not contingent. On this view, there's the natural world.
Yes, but you live every moment of your life as if the world were contingent, David.
No, I live every moment of my life as if the world of my experience undergoes change.
That's right.
And as a matter of my experience. But your view is that there's the natural world plus God. So on parsimony, all I'm saying is that
no, but your view is irrational. Mine is it's the most parsimonious, rational view you can have.
Well,
you're violating the law of non-contradiction. You're saying, "Oh, the universe."
You keep saying this, and I'm going to have to say this again. The law of non-contradiction is that something cannot be true and false in the same way, in the same sense, and I am not violating that, because I've been very clear that if this view is correct, the world changes as a matter of our perceptual experience, but it does not change as a matter of the ultimate nature of the universe. Those are different.
Who is perceiving this unchanging reality that you say exists?
No one is directly perceiving it.
So you're just appealing to it.
No, we posit the existence of. Do you believe in the existence of electrons?
I do.
No one has seen an electron ever. We posit them, and so the world of electrons and protons and the ultimate nature of the universe. On this view, that doesn't change. It all exists. But as a matter of our perceptual experience, we do experience change.
But why do we posit electrons?
Oh, because it's the best explanation of our perceptions. So we're still using perceptions to.
That's right. It's our perception, right?
Yeah, of course. But
whose perception is telling you that everything that you see is really not true.
I don't think I'm saying that.
You're saying everything appears to change, but it really doesn't.
Right. So you can say it's true that it appears to change, but there's no change at the ultimate, in terms of the ultimate nature of the universe. Now, there's something earlier I wanted to. So according to the kind of standard interpretation of general relativity,
but nobody's perception then it's just special pleading.
No, it's not special pleading. It's based on certain experimental results that seem to indicate that, or at least the most consistent view of them is that there is no change at the ultimate level. Now, just to repeat what I was getting at earlier, and I had another point. I will have to return to that later. But your view is that God is the cause of the universe, and that I just want to emphasize this, and that every other possible explanation is false. This view that I'm defending is a kind of standard, view that you'll find in theoretical physics, and you have to show why it's false. I don't have to show that it's true to, vindicate my view that I don't know. No, I'm not asserting that I know that it's true. I mean, so
okay,
if you ask me,
okay, then give me another argument. Just abandon it because you won't defend.
No. Because see, look, all I have to show, all I have to show for your argument, you believe that God exists, and you think that your argument shows that God exists, and one of the premises in your argument will be all other possible explanations don't explain the existence of the universe. So you have to show that this view is false. Because I'm not saying that it's true. I'm just saying you don't have any argument against it. So
you haven't made an argument.
Again, I don't.
Said that the universe is changing and it's not changing, and yet you cannot justify it other than it's
I hope at least the people who are watching have been, following the plot. Because I said very early on, I'm not arguing this view is true. I'm explaining that it's a possible explanation, and I said that very early on. So maybe just say it. David does not believe he can prove this is true. He just believes that this is a possible explanation that I don't think you have an argument against. That's all I'm saying. All right.
Listen, David, I got to get back to work. This is not very interesting to me, but I really appreciate the time. And I really didn't have time to do this, and it's not very stimulating to me anyway. But I very much appreciate the time, and I wish you all the best. Okay?
All right. Yeah.
We'll talk to you later.